Hi, it's Dr. Jennifer Freed, and you are seen in your element, where I highlight leaders in their field, and through asking them questions in the elements of fire, earth, air, and water, we learn to love them more. So today I'm interviewing Jessica Hische, who is a letterer, an illustrator, a wild imaginative artist, and also an extraordinary spouse and parent. And I want to say welcome. And where can people find you?
People can find me on all of the socials at Jessica Hische, and it's spelled Hische. And then also my website is jessicahische.is/awesome.
And that's for sure true. So that leads us to the first question. Fire. What fuels your inner fire, Jessica?
So, as a creative person, a big thing that fuels my inner fire is that moment when I get sort of inspired about a project, but really like the fire comes from envisioning other people interacting with something that I've created. So, like the thing that will make me the most excited about a piece that I'm making, whether it's lettering or a random piece of jewelry or anything like that, is sort of being like, ooh, I know someone that's going to love this. And I just visualize that person in my head, whether they're real, whether they're someone I actually know, but just sort of like anticipating the joy that something that I make will bring to someone is what fuels my fire.
Well, I don't know if they've named this category yet, but you would be called a relational artist. So everything you do and conceive of is in relationship to somebody that is going to love or care for what you've created. Beautiful. Okay, Earth, how do you stay grounded?
I stay grounded in a few ways. I have to connect to like the physical world a lot. I definitely am a bit of an anxious person and can be in my head. And also like anxiety is just not being present in your body. So the way that I stay grounded is just sort of like being present in a physical space, building spaces around me that make me feel grounded and calm. Like I'm in my office right now, but my home is very similar. It's tucked into nature. It's like a very, clean, designy space, and just being surrounded by a space that feels calm and by people that make me feel, connected to the present time is how I stay grounded.
And one question, as you're gesticulating, I see all these lovely tattoos. When you get tattoos, is that a grounding experience?
I think so. I think tattoos are a healthy expression of having a intense physical sensation that grounds you in your body. There's of course unhealthy expressions of that, but yeah, I think also too, I think of tattoos as one, like a way to, you know, project into the world the person that I am. Like I started getting tattoos because I felt like I have this very like approachable, friendly vibe where everyone asks me for directions and I just look like somebody's Midwestern sister. So I felt like they gave me a little bit of like she's got something going on edge.
Well, you definitely have something going on. So the next is a more theoretical air question. What is a guiding principle that you use in your life?
A guiding principle that I use in my life is that to do as much as I can to not treat my relationships with people and with anything that I do as a transactional situation. So I'm really a believer in like pump good into the earth, into the world, and it will figure itself out and return its way to you at some point, but that you shouldn't see like I'm being kind to someone now, they have to be kind to me later, that there's no transaction about that interaction. Like it's really just about like put as much good into the world as you can, because if everybody does it, it all returns.
I couldn't agree more. And in fact, I think that transactional relationships always end up with somebody feeling resentment because you're trying to get something by giving something, and it's not always going to work out that way.
The goal in life, I think, is not having to keep tabs ever. Like I think you don't want to be so rich that you have to keep track of things and so broke that you have to keep track of things. Being right in the center where you
that is good wisdom, Jessica. So a water question is, what opens your heart? What melts your heart?
What melts my heart most of all is watching, like seeing other people have that like moment where they really feel like they've got something, like they feel fulfilled, or they feel like, oh my God, and that can happen. If it happens because I've helped introduce them to something, then I get to feel that moment as well. But even just seeing other people experience that on their own, like, gets me just so stoked. I feel like I very much am an empath, and I can feel their feelings when they feel it.
So basically, you have adjacent breakthroughs. You have adjacent breakthroughs. That's beautiful. Okay, we're going to move down now to what creative projects, since you're a creator, are you most proud of?
What am I most proud of? I feel like I'm always the most proud of my work when I push myself a little bit more than I need to. And so even just like with a project that I'm currently working on, which I can't mention or anything, part of the contract is that I have to do 5 sketches of each of the options, which is more than I would usually do. And rather than just being like, okay, well, they just need to see 5 quick options, I'm like really trying to make them as broad and experimental as possible, and pushing myself out of my normal comfort zones. And so that's moments like that when I feel like I can look at the work and go like, wow, that wasn't me phoning it in. That was me really trying something new and doing something. That's when I'm sort of the most happy and creatively satisfied in a project.
So I'm going to name you as a power risker. Like, you really risk with your creative output when you have to give your power away and also put a lot of effort into it.
See, I feel like I'm generally pretty risk averse. And so that's actually why I get the most proud of myself when I do it, because it's not my natural tendency. My natural tendency is to sort of like be more comfortable. And so when I push myself, that's when I feel better about what, like, that I'm progressing.
That leads us to the next question, which is what has been one of your worst failures that taught you the most? Because what I know about very successful people is they always have some track record of failure.
Yes. So my biggest professional failure was I was working on a really high profile project and treated the relationship a little bit too casually, because I was sort of basing it on the way that a previous project worked. And it just went really off the rails. And in retrospect, I think about the project and think that I really could have brought more of myself and more professionalism to it. But in the moment, I just felt so like victimized by how I was treated by this client. But it's like, there's always like 2 parties at play. And I feel like that was one of my bigger moments where this really, really fun, juicy project just totally blew apart. And I felt so like sad and embarrassed about it. And after the fact, I was like, I definitely played a hand in that and could have brought more of myself to it.
Well, I do think that we always learn that boundaries and structure, which are very earth things, are prerequisites to successful business relationships. And I too have suffered from a lack of clarity when it's just a casual thing, because work relationships are never casual. They're very intentional. Okay, next question. What does your most loving inner voice say to you when things are hard? How do you talk to yourself really beautifully when things are hard?
I think it's mostly just reinforcing that I'm a good person. Like, I think the thing that I feel like I need to tell myself and remind myself, which I feel very confident in, is that I don't do anything to purposefully harm anyone. And every time, everything that I do, I try to be helpful. I try to be kind. I try to, and it comes from not a place of like, oh, I'm doing that to cancel out these yucky feelings that I have. Like, I kind of know that I'm not yucky on the inside. And so I just remind myself that I'm not.
That's a great reassurance, to just know that you're coming from an intention of being good and kind, and stuff still happens, but you can rest in that. Okay, last question, and it's a water question for your big, beautiful, bountiful, creative self. What do you mean when you say, I love you? What do you mean?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. I think there's a few things. Like, I love you is I value you, like I see you, I see all of you, and I see how much you bring into my life and into the world. Like, I think that that is part of it. And then I love you is also just, I am there for you. Like, I will do no matter what, no matter what you do, no matter how much you screw up, no matter what you say, it doesn't matter. There's nothing that you can do that will ruin our connection to each other.
Wow. I'm going to test you on that. So if somebody lies, cheats, and does you wrong, if you love them, you'll just still keep loving them?
I think, like, I would definitely still keep loving them. And the issue, what I would do though, is be like, if you are looking to correct these things and I see that you are progressing, then that can continue. But I think you can love someone and still draw a hard boundary of like, I can't interact with you anymore, but the love can still be there.
Yeah, I wanted you to clarify that, because I certainly have deep love for some people that I won't associate with anymore because their actions were too painful for me over time, but I didn't lose the love for them.
I think too, like almost all of the time when people do hurtful things, it's not because they intend to do hurtful things. It's them reacting to some inner hurt, that old hurt that they have, or some, issue that they're dealing with. And so I'm very forgiving of hurtful behavior because I just always assume that it's coming from a place that is an old hurt or something that they haven't processed yet.
Yes, well, my trauma therapist hat would say that anybody that's hurting is hurting inside, and if they have unprocessed trauma. But I think it's a good clarification you and I have made, that we wouldn't tolerate the behavior, we would still love the person. Yeah. All right. Well, you've been an amazing guest on In Your Element. And if people want to learn more about how to be in their element, then go to jenniferfreed.com and order my new book, A Map to Your Soul. Anything else you want to say, Jessica, before we sign off?
Oh, I don't know. This was really fun. Thank you for having me.